Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week number 2 of the NUEL Summer Tournament for League of Legends. My name is John Allen, and joining me is going to be Acer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Coming into the week 2 of the modified Swiss, so going to be seeing some teams who have gone 3-0 against 3-0, etc. Try and level out those matchups, see who's doing well, who's doing poorly, and who's looking really to make playoffs.
We'll certainly have to see. Obviously, with the Swiss format, can go up, can go down, can go all directions except backwards. But it's going to be best of ones in the games today. We're looking at 2 matchups today. And first of all, we're going to have Invulnerables Blue versus Daddy. Are you okay?
And it's a bit of a lower tier matchup. They've both lost quite most of their games so far, so they've both been struggling a bit. But looking at some of these matchups here, we can see like Swifty in the top lane, Platinum 3, support Platinum 2 on that team as well. Those are the 2 highest elo members of the team, so maybe looking to put a bit of resources into the top lane. We've seen Darius coming back really big in the NUEL. He was actually big a couple splits ago with Karma Envy for UAE Monkey Cage, but now actually seeing him come in as a meta champion is rather interesting.
Yeah, a lot of sort of fluctuations going on at the moment in the top lane, as you say, in the bottom lane as well. We've seen particularly some recent changes. Felt a little bit last week, maybe a little bit more this week.
I think with the changes that have come through bit by bit to some crit ADCs, we might gradually see some more things like the Xayah come back, and a few more of those more scaling ADCs because they're becoming safer and safer. And another big one that we wouldn't have seen last week in the NUEL, but this week could come up big, is Kindred. Kindred shown up big in competitive play over the last week. Really huge performances, and it's just ability to turn around team fights, similarly to how Janna used to be used. And so that's a pseudo ADC pick that you can have. It'll come from the jungle.
Yeah, obviously ADC sort of falling out of fashion, really, isn't it? It's
it's
a kind of if you play ADC in 2018, you're going to be in for a bad time. But you know, people are finding their feet now. They're starting to adapt, and as you say, you know, with these picks like Kindred coming in, you know, they can find other places to go as well.
Yeah, it's seeing that AD damage come from elsewhere. We talked about it a little bit already, like the Darius in the top lane, big AD threat. You got some picks like your Kindred. Even Mundo is a decent AD threat with the amount of damage he does from his auto attacks. So there's always physical damage you can make up elsewhere.
Yeah, well, hopefully we're going to be getting these teams underway in just a moment. The lobby is getting set up at the moment, but
Here we
are now. Oh, are we? Yep, I think we are. I think we're into pick and ban, ladies and gentlemen. I will send us over, and we will be looking at the first matchup as the bans start to come through.
Okay, Anivia, pick that's come through recently back in the mid lane. It's just given so much control, and we've seen what a lot of mid laners do right now is they get the push advantage, they use it to roam, and they try and build up advantages across the map. With Anivia, she can shut down that so effectively with her wave clear around that level 6 mark, where she can just clear the wave and hold you down in mid lane, or she will take your tower. And the ability to split up the team fight with a wall as well is so crucial, so just removing it as quickly as possible. We can see most of the picks that have been removed thus far are these big AoE team fighting picks.
Yeah, we have got the Rumble going away, Poppy and Swain taken off the cards, and as you said, that's a lot of AoE team fight just gone.
Yeah, it's Poppy, a pick that you don't see that often, but it has again been coming back as a counter pick to things like Aurelia. Shen himself there, another great team fighting champion at the minute. He's been more in the support role than any other, but just his early damage when you go for the aftershock, the damage you can get from a Shen is just surprising and wins a lot of 2v2 matchups early.
With the Trundle being banned away as well, we're going to get underway to the first setup of picks, which was going to be Daddy, Are You Okay? Looking for Swifty to take that first step.
A lot of power picks still available, a lot of big strong picks here left for Swifty. Not the top lane hasn't been targeted that much. You could say that Poppy, Swain, Shen, and Rumble seems like a lot, but really it's only really the Rumble and the Swain that you have to worry about if you're looking to carry through top lane.
Well, the Aurelian Soul is going to get locked in. That's some more AoE wave push as Morgana Caitlyn is the counter.
I was just about to say Morgana has actually been a pick that we've seen recently in ADC, but they instantly flipped that and put the Caitlyn in the ADC position. So she's going to be a bit safer with that Morgana Black Shield on her, but still that's a really scaling ADC. And what you'd be looking to do at that point is stall out the game, bide your time until Aurelion Sol starts to become irrelevant, and that's why Caitlyn really starts to shine just as Aurelion Sol falls off.
Or maybe they're playing for the late game, but in a short game meta, that might not go their way. Lux being picked up now with Aurelion Sol already on the cards. That is going to be a flex.
Yeah, it's you'd assume it's going to the support role at the minute, if with an Aurelion Sol put in the mix. Aurelion Sol not really a pick known for playing any other lane other than mid. So with what he wants to do is exactly what we're saying about just being one of these mid laners that pushes hard and roams. So having him be this mid lane and be the anchor point for the composition will really be a great starting point, and that's why they first picked him.
Well, Darius getting locked in. That's something you touched on earlier. In that top side of the map, obviously, no Poppy, no sort of super tanky things to deal with Darius. What have you got left open?
Well, there's still things like Ornn if you want to play something tanky, but you do end up struggling into the Darius. What we've seen some people do is they go for things like Gangplank and go for a scaling lane into it. Or you see some people just go hard in on the Bruiser matchup and play something like Renekton. Or even the new Aatrox. But having gone for the Lee Sin here, I'm not sure that's really what we're going to see. I think we're going to see like the full tank. We're going to see somebody come in and try and just survive that laning phase to set up the Caitlyn towards the later stages.
Lee Sin getting locked in for the jungle on a Vulnerable's blue as the second phase of bans goes in. Heimerdinger and Lissandra going to feel the wrath of the banhammer.
Heimerdinger, a strong bot lane pick at the minute, very controlling, and would be very good at shutting down the Caitlyn and Morgana, and making sure he can win that lane, pressure out Caitlyn as much as possible in the early game, which is really where you need to punish Caitlyn. So it works out. And I agree with that Aatrox ban, just trying to make sure the Darius goes uncontested.
Yeah, the Aatrox ban goes through, but so does the Aurelia ban. So maybe they were expecting that to be moved into the jungle, or were worried about it somewhere else as well.
And technically, you could go for Aurelia ADC still. It's a pick you do see bot lane occasionally. So it's hard really to nail down where a lot of these picks are going, and they are going for that scaling lane into the Darius with the Gangplank here. Just trying to make sure they've got something to set up that Caitlyn with the scaling. And so they have these two big damage threats as the game goes on, but they need the Lee Sin to be big in the early game. Looking at this composition this far, he needs to show up and make sure he can allow those lanes to snowball through the early.
Kayn being hovered, but it's flickered over to the Olaf. The Raging Viking will be picked up and another Bruiser put onto their team.
Okay, so this is a really nice front-to-back composition here. Looking at this, and if the Nami gets knocked in especially, this is a composition that wants to destroy your front line first, while Olaf is running directly through people. There's so many tools to be able to lock down key targets, and the interesting pick here, though, is it's Lux bot lane, I have to assume, with this.
Is it who's going to go with them, though? I guess
Lux
Nami. Yeah, Lux Nami bot lane. A lot of CC in that lane, but with the Black Shield, might be a little bit trickier than they're expecting.
Yeah, it's with the amount of AP damage you got, you really have to put points into the Black Shield. You have to get pretty much an E-max Morgana to be able to stop yourself being CC'd through all that magic damage. So it does take away some of her laning prowess. However, the real strength of this will just be Lux throwing down her E, zoning Caitlyn massively away from the minion wave. And I think there's definitely a lot of strength that can come from this.
They're going to be looking to find their feet. The Galio is going to be over in that top side. Sorry, not in the top side. It will be played in that mid lane.
This is not LCS order, by the way.
No, I realized that.
Yeah.
You'd think after so many seasons of playing League of Legends at the NUEL, they would have finally realized if you're on stream, guys, you need to be in LCS order.
It's a lot harder to justify LCS order when even in the LCS they're switching their top lanes and mid lanes and ADCs every single game.
That is true. That is true.
It's no longer LCS order. LCS order is like this.
That's a good point. Do you know what? I'll take it. I'll take that one. Good point. Well made. But they are going to be scrapping around, I imagine. For Daddy, are you okay? It's going to be Darius in the top side, Olaf in the jungle, Aurelion Sol in the mid, and then Nami Lux in the bot lane. And over for Invulnerable's blue, you've got Morgana Caitlyn in the bot. In the mid is Galio, Lee Sin jungle, and the scaling Gangplank in the top.
So I really like this Galio pick to round out the composition, because with these two scaling lanes in the Caitlyn and the Gangplank, you need somebody to make plays in the mid game with the Lee Sin. And having Galio able to dive in on top of any key targets, make sure that any plays that do happen around the mid game are supported thoroughly by Galio and Lee Sin, making sure that you don't see these skirmishes where Olaf and Darius just want to run through people is a great shutdown pick.
See how they managed to shut that one down. But just before we get into game, looking at these two comps, what are your initial feelings about the prospects for each of these teams?
So what we need to see from the side of Daddy, Are You Okay is really just the decent laning phase. Around the sort of 15-minute mark, we need to see a lot of plays being made, a lot of more aggressive. We're going to take the towers. You got to snowball the game as quickly as possible, because they need to become that 5-man death ball before Caitlyn and Gangplank become online. They can't be having these scrappy skirmishes around 25-30 minutes, because that's where the side of Invulnerables is going to thrive, when they've got these multiple items, when they've got the Galio to set up these plays.
So on the flip side of that, of course, you've got Invulnerables Blue, who are going to be looking to stall it out, surely, if they want to get their Gangplank farmed. They want to give Caitlyn that advantage.
They just don't want to concede the laning phase too hard, because if you give up those towers early, it opens up the map massively for the side of Daddy, Are You Okay to take all those towers, push Vision deep, and shut down the amount of resources you can get. So for Caitlyn and Morgana, their job is keep their tower for as long as possible. And for Gangplank, eventually in that 1v1 matchup, Darius will be able to solo kill him. So it's just a matter of time of becoming relevant for the 5v5 before Darius can 1v1 you.
So a little bit of a long game, slightly more tactics over on the side of Invulnerables Blue, I think it's fair to say. Whereas Daddy, Are You Okay? They're really just going to be bashing their head against the wall and seeing if they can pick up some rubble.
Yeah, looking for Olaf to see if he can pull off these chain ganks. We'll have to see if he's done it, but generally what we see from him is the Predator Boots and an Ingenious Hunter. So you've got a 1-minute cooldown Predator Boots to try and make ganks happen as often as possible. You get those chase down kills, you get the massive movement speed boost, and there's not really many people to stop him. It's pretty much just the Morgana binding, and once he hits 6, it's going to be that much easier.
And that 6 is going to be a real turning point, I think, in general, across the board. The chains are really going to be something that you need to watch out for, not to mention Lee Sin's Dragon Kick, which is one of the most impactful sort of displacement abilities in the game.
Yeah, it's gonna deny a lot of disengage from the Olaf, so he gets those free few seconds to try and run down somebody in the backline. And there's nothing that Baby Mike Young can really do about that other than try and burst him down, and that's the trade-off you have with Olaf. When you pop your ult, you lose all your bonus resistances, you get bonus AD. It's all about making a play happen within those moments.
Crucial seconds can be burnt or can be used to great effect, but it's all on them to try and make those outplays, try and make those well-positioned engages and time it right with the rest of their team.
So this is the first time we've seen a non-standard bot lane in the NUEL, other than the Swain Morgana was one of them that we saw. So I'm interested to see how the Nami Lux play and if they can justify having gone for this double mage bot lane. You can imagine they practiced it a lot, but it's the case of, if you can't execute on this, if the laning phase is even a little bit in favor of the Caitlyn Morgana because you're not practiced, because it's a little bit more difficult to pull off than you'd like into the Morgana, then that's where Caitlyn gets a free scaling lane, and you can't have that happen. So even if they lose slightly, there's a big issue, and Olaf needs to make up for that.
Needs to gain that ground, of course. A little bit difficult to see him, as you mentioned earlier, with his ultimate. Lee Sin won't be able to send him away. So if he gets onto Caitlyn, or if he gets through Galio, that's onto the back line, and that's the danger zone.
But the picks that we need to look out for here is Caitlyn, Gangplank, and Darius, really. Caitlyn, we know that her late game prowess with the way that crit items were changed means that when you do hit that 6-item point, you hit even harder than you used to. But it's just getting to that 6-item point that's that much harder, and your 2-item spike is way weaker than it used to be. Gangplank, such a huge amount of damage you can put down as an AoE teamfighter in the late game, and Darius, who can get those resets and can churn through an entire team front to back. It's really difficult to stop him. So you need to look out for these picks and where the item spikes are. So Darius is going to be looking for those 2-3 items and then to start bursting people down. Caitlyn more looking towards 4 or 5, you have to say.
Yeah, so we are going to be over into the game. We're onto the Rift. On the blue side, we are going to have... Oh, we're going to have a pause is what we're going to have. That's always fun.
Just some minor mic issues, so we'll be sorting that out as quickly as possible and getting back into the game. But we get a chance to look at the item starts, and I'm going to move everybody around on the scoreboard so I can
I'll tell you
put
what,
them in
I'll
the
do
right
the
place.
same.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're seeing the more standard start from Aurelion Sol now, which is people running Corrupting Potion mid lane. So what the Corrupting Potion provides is just that bonus mana and health at the start, the burn as well. So you just have that extra ability to trade in those early phases without having to burn something more permanent like the basic potions.
Well, we're back in now. So the unpause goes through. Seems like Invulnerable's blue are going to be pinging that mid-river brush, setting up for the early confrontation in the river. Lee Sin, close as ever. Aurelion Sol, unsuspecting the ward, gets dropped. He gets bound up. Lee Sin lands the kick. He will get it through. That's first blood over to Gangplank.
Of all the picks to get it on as well, it's Gangplank, and he gets a free ward for his troubles. Perfectly done, and that's what happens when you group up as 5 with a Morgana binding at level 1. It works similarly to a Blitzcrank hook, and they finish off Swifty, so great start for them. Gangplank's already got an advantage in the scaling lane.
He's going to be a little bit further ahead. You can see he just went back to base, going to buy himself that longsword.
A little bit closer to the Triforce, obviously that bonus damage in the early phase as well, and gets an extra potion for his troubles as well. So definitely in a good position. He's going to have a lot easier time versus that Darius, but there's one thing I don't necessarily agree with here, and he's gone for the Kleptomancy. So Kleptomancy giving him that bonus gold generation. It's often used on these scaling laners to give you a little bit of bonus gold generation when you are against somebody who generally is a weaker laner. What you see more often now is people run Grasp of the Undying to try and win their lane matchup, or at least go even, and then use that to get the bonus gold just from winning the lane, rather than having to rely on Kleptomancy.
They are just going to be farming up. Of course, Darius's aggression will just be a little bit tempered because of that level advantage and gold advantage that GP has. And as you said, with Kleptomancy, he has that pressure in lane. So Darius can't really step up to him in the same way that he'd like to be able to.
It's still like around the level 4-5 mark. Darius can just walk up and continually throw those Qs, throw in the damage, and really pressure out the Gangplank. And that's really where the Grasp of the Undying is missed, because you lose some of that lane pressure that you have.
Although over in the bot lane, the Nami Lux seems to be going okay for now. They seem to be going pretty even on CS, but level 2 dinged by Morgana and Caitlyn. Tormented Soil just sends them back. They don't want to go for the fight.
It's a little bit difficult right now, but as we see those points in the E start to come through from Lux, able to use that on cooldown, it should be significantly easier to be able to push that lane out and hold the Caitlyn under her turret.
As you said earlier, that is really what they're going to be looking for, but there's the light binding onto the Morgana. Not quite traded back with the Dark, but it is going to be a relatively even trade, not too much lost or gained there.
I want to keep up with the jungles right now, because you can see Lee Sin trying to check the scuttle, Olaf already cleaning it up, but fairly close on the CS right now, and Olaf known for his early clear speed, so well done by Baby Mike Young for keeping up thus far, but not really able to get that aggression that you normally see from a Lee Sin in these early levels, where he wants to get into the opposing jungle and take as many camps as possible, instead just having to temper that because he is against the Olaf.
He has to try and make things work with the rest of his team as well. Might be looking for some pressure, but the hook in onto Gangplank, the slow, cleansed away by those oranges, but the damage has gone through, and that bleed is really going to start to hurt now.
Yeah, you can see how rough the matchup generally is for Gangplank, but it is that scaling advantage that he usually has.
Speaking of rough matchups, though, Lee Sin's found himself in a bit of trouble. Doesn't have a water hop to just yet. Gangplank moving down as he just runs away. Tail between his legs, a little bit overextended.
Yeah, ends up not having to burn his flash, at least does hold on to that, but ends up getting caught out of position, and now it gives Sir Peach the way in.
Dark binding onto the Nami. We'll just be able to capitalize with the headshot from the Caitlyn, but again, not too much pressure. But Olaf going aggressive is spotted out by Lee Sin onto the Krugs, but doesn't seem like they're going to contest the position with Aurelion Sol pushed up in mid. They just can't afford to rotate in.
It's unfortunate because Lee Sin just wants to base here, but Olaf is keeping him down. He's keeping him on low HP, so he can't contest the jungle. He can't contest vision. And now it's just giving Olaf free reign to do whatever he wants on the map.
You see he's already got a massive CS advantage. Maybe a little bit thrown off because he did some Krugs. He got some of that, but he is very much in the lead at this stage. You know, level 4 to level 3. He is starting to stake his claim to the Rift.
It's a lot easier to tell now than it used to be on how you can track the jungler's CS with. It used to just be down to how many minions you'd killed uniquely, but now with every camp giving you a uniform for a CS, you can track that camp difference and see how far Olaf is ahead, and it's around 100 gold per camp, and he's about 3 camps ahead now, so about 300 gold difference is pretty impressive, but it's come out about 250 if you look at these stats.
Yeah, and then he just goes back to base, finishes off that first tier jungle line, doesn't have the upgrade just yet, but he is
this is where
way
he can
ahead
get
of Lee
Bop in.
Sin.
This is where he can get Bop in. He's got that the Predator boots already, but all the roam coming in.
He is going to get the stun onto the Morgana. She's in danger, has to flash away. Heal burnt as well by the Caitlyn, but one more comet. It swings around, and around they go. Morgana will go down.
Nice roam there from the Aurelion Sol. That's what happens when you have the push advantage in lane. And it works out for him. Makes up for the fact that he lost that first blood, but maybe Mike Young.
Lee Sin just has to flash away. A little bit overzealous. Caitlyn as well, stepping up to the bot lane. She has to burn her flash as well. There's a trap there. Lee Sin to safeguard, but that is really over-aggressive from both of the Invulnerables blue players.
And now this gives the full control of the bot lane back to Yumi and Dosa. It's a much better position for them than they were in, but Rubens now has hit level 6. You can look for him to be trading aggressively onto this Gangplank.
Very low mana as well, but Gangplank's back under turret. He knows what's best. Over in the mid lane, however, there's a little bit of a scuffle. The taunt from Galio will mean that they are knocked up, has to flash back for the Olaf. He's seen away. Aurelion Sol completely out of mana. Cannot continue this fight. Lee Sin slowed by the undertow, but they are just going to be sent back, and no more kills going over in that mid lane. Caitlyn still hanging around in this bot side, and Lux just snipes it behind the turret.
I'm not sure if the recall got cancelled or if she chose to stay, but really a mistake.
Taunt in the mid. Galio.
Swifty goes low, but does survive.
Going in, Olaf coming in, burning the flash in response from Aurelion Sol, but he's still got no mana. Yeah, I have to dive underneath the turret, but Galio has the power to get away on a sliver of health. Aurelion, really over-aggressive there, again, without any mana.
Everybody just staying in lane a little bit too long cost Rai his life, and cost Swifty the kill there, as it was so close to being able to pick that one up. But still, if we see how the game's shaken out thus far, or shook out rather, it's a 400 gold lead on the side of Daddy UOK, still managing to hold on to those laning advantages that we spoke of earlier on. But is it enough? Really, is it enough to just have a small advantage? And with Lee Sin's counter ganking being what it is thus far, I don't think it is. He's shutting down a lot of the aggression from Daddy UOK. He's getting Invulnerables into a position where they can just sit back and scale.
And that's the thing as well, you talked about it during pick and ban, is that the bot lane for Invulnerables Blue just want to hold that turret for as long as possible. And right now, they are going wave for wave with their opposing side.
It just seems so abstract from how it was last year, seeing Caitlyn actually be the pick that generally has her tower threatened when she's played. But this game in particularly, having played the lane out well, you got to give credit to Gold 4 coach as well. So just how effectively he's been able to zone out. But caught out again.
As the light binding is going to be stunned up, Galio at the grand entrance to try and save his teammates. Meanwhile, across the rift, you've got a Lee Sin going down. Caitlyn falls as well to the Aurelion Sol. And now it's Morgana under the Kosh, as Nami will be going for the aggression. There's the Galaxy. It doesn't even need to pop as the Comet gets the kill. Galio now under the pressure as the wave comes on in. Tidal wave just sailing a little bit wide, but he's not going to get away without a fight as Olaf just roams down, pops the Ragnarok, and will find the kill.
And that is the big play we were looking for in the mid-game. This is what exactly we needed to see happen for the side of Daddy UOK. They needed to blow the game open with a series of picks, and that's exactly what happens across the map. And Rubens getting closer and closer to getting that Noxian guillotine down on the head of Intiator.
He is going quite low, though. Galio managing to step up with some poke. Has got that Sheen finished. Just make it a little bit easier to trade into it in those short little scraps.
And so that's the Dragon now going over the first Dragon in game. Mountain Dragon picked up for the side of Daddy UOK. Going to make that sieging a little bit easier when they don't have an ADC. They need that bonus damage. So it's definitely welcomed, and denying it from a Caitlyn can't be understated as well.
Just sending that wave clear down. You can see the tower just not threatened at all for the Caitlyn. As you said before, that's kind of uncommon, and that's exactly what they need to happen. But with that mid-play pressure, they are starting to mount. We got a 3-1-1 Aurelion Sol. That is very, very dangerous in a team fight.
If they can take a couple of good trades, make Rai a little bit lower, make Rai a little bit more uncomfortable under his tower, then the moment mid lane's cleared, you can have Aurelion Sol roam down to the bot lane, you can have Sir Peach come down, you set up that 4-man dive, and the tower is dead.
Well, we could be getting jumped on here. It is a 1v2 with the Darius. Has the Aurelion Sol coming in for the backup. There's the Cannon Barrage coming in, but it isn't going to be quite enough. Lee Sin goes down to a lovely reckless swing from Olaf. And now it's going to be Galio going in, trying to take down the Aurelion Sol. 1v2 again for this Gangplank, and there's a brilliant guillotine as Darius able to clean up the kill, gets the heal from his Q. Aurelion Sol turns it around, and 9-1, 3 kills for the top side.
Another great collapse there. And blue side's able to pick up another 3 kills, and Ruben's just barely making it away, barely able to use the blast cone to escape as well, and keeps him alive for long enough, gets the cleanup, and denies the Gangplank any more kills. Really struggling to get any kind of advantage across the map. We looked at it initially as maybe the Gangplank would have that focus onto him. He already had the 1 kill from the first blood, but since then, it's just all fallen apart piece by piece.
Oh, Lee Sin getting caught up in the Galaxy. Just popping off, but there goes the Aurelion Sol, just sending him away. Dark Shield on to the Caitlyn, just making sure that there's nothing can come of it.
Ooh.
And a headshot over onto the Lux. There's still a lot of poke damage going back and forth. That bot lane is probably the most even out of the lot.
With that mid lane tower going down, it frees up Aurelion Sol so much more to push the wave deep and roam, as he is right now. We can see the plays coming. Is he going to go over both pink wards?
Oh, he's going to go for the base. They've seen it. He is going to get rooted. But there's the Galaxy. It's right at max range, but it's going to be enough to hit. But he's seen away. Caitlyn with the heal, making sure that they can get it. There's this final spark. And that's the final spark. And Morgana snuffed out.
Really well played there. He goes directly in between the 2 pink wards, dodges the vision completely, and catches the bot lane off guard. Forces right low, forces the heal up, and they get the kill onto Gold 4 Coach. This is what they need to happen consistently. If you can keep making those plays bot lane, the tower will go down sooner rather than later.
Oh, hang on a minute. Top lane. Darius struggling a little bit into the 1v1 with Gangplank. Seems to have found his feet a little bit. That Sheen really doing work, as well as the Phage speed up. Both of them looking to get it, but there's the Gangplank. He's going to keep going. Noxian Guillotine isn't quite at the right stage. There's the final parlay, but in comes Olaf to try and capitalize. Lee Sin into the bot side as well. Goes for the 1v2, but it's a little bit more than you could chew, I'm afraid. Even for you, baby Mike Young, you're going to go down. That's a Dragon Strike. As he isn't actually going to go down. He's able to safeguard away as he finally gets taken out by the Lux. Gangplank turning it now, getting turned around on by the Olaf. Very, very low, both of them, but of course, with that low health passive, Olaf will just come out on top.
So much action happening across the map and in that bot lane. Lee Sin going down in the top lane. It's really, you got to say, down to the execution difference between Rubens and Theater. As Rubens is consistently missing the sweet spot on those Qs. He's not getting the heal. He's not getting the bonus stack of his passive. If you just land the Q where the handle is, it doesn't give you a stack of the bleed. If you land it where the bleed is, the bleed is. Ooh.
Oh, very fast
God.
from the Caitlyn. That's a lot of headshot damage. Aurelion Sol started away to the fight. Double flash burn for the red side bot lane, but it's not going to be enough to save Caitlyn. It might be, however, for the Morgana, but there is a Lux snipe for the ages. 14-3 now, the kill score.
You can see everybody is starting to really snowball ahead, and the game's been blown wide open. It was only a matter of about 5 minutes ago. The game seemed mostly even, and since then, everything's just exploded outwards to saying 5-1 and 5 mid lane, 4-0-5 bot lane. And there needs to be some heavy magic resistance soon, otherwise, you're really going to see Lux continue to burst out these targets.
Gangplank just trying his best to farm up, but the saving grace, of course, is that that bot lane turret still stands. They need to get that Caitlyn farmed, because at this point, that's kind of their only win condition.
But they've managed to get the top side and the mid lane tower, which, as we mentioned, it opens up the map for Aurelion Sol to roam more. It opens up the map for these roams to happen that much easier. So the bot lane is more and more under pressure. And the fact that the first tower went down mid nullifies anything that Caitlyn would have wanted to hold on to in the lane. Normally you see, as we mentioned in the pick and ban phase, people want to hold on to that tower bot lane as long as possible, because that's the first tower to fall. With the pressure that Aurelion Sol had over Alice, he was able to get the mid lane tower by himself and allow that to snowball into the top lane, into the bot lane, and open up the map so much more.
There you go. Speaking of opening up the map, there's the Darius in the bot side. We'll just drop the Rift Herald down. Lux pressuring them back under turret, zoning the waves away as well. Olaf's had none of it. Grand Entrance comes in from the Galio, but it's not going to be enough to save the life of Caitlyn, as the Ragnarok cannot be taunted, but might get damaged down a little bit low enough, but the rest of the team's doing so much work. Lee Sin's a little bit late to the party, but I don't think it would have mattered anyway.
And they're going to get that second charge off on the Rift Herald in the meantime, but Intiator.
He is going to get jumped on by the Aurelian Soul, taking very low. That Phage proc just about saving his life, but again, the Lux snipes him right out of the air. Now Luden's proccing dangerously.
The Finales from Kellen strikes once again. 5-0-7 now with the Ludens. Yeah, it's snowballing ahead. We're going to see more of these sort of snowball items. I expect like the Morellonomicon, some heavy AP item purchases. And honestly, with how well it's going, you could legitimately see a Mage Eyes come out.
The Galaxy not quite able to get the stun, but the headshot from Caitlyn. It's going to do a bit, but I think they echoed pretty much in their advantage, because Lux is starting to do so much poke damage. As you said, they need to build up that magic resist.
Yeah, it's just when you've got that E to maximum amount of points, you've got it on such a lower cooldown, you can constantly force the wave under tower and land a poke hit every single time.
Oh, the stun and the Zhonya's burn. Sorry, the stopwatch burn for the Morgana. It's going to be broken now, so that one-time use, just saving the life for now. Light binding onto the gangplank. Cleansed away. Aurelian Soul trying to shepherd that Galaxy into the right spot, but seems like Gangplank's slightly too quick, but Darius on the flank will find a Lee Sin. Nothing to jump to. Not quite yet, my friend. The bleed will get you. And the final axe blow is dealt.
0-4, not finding any luck on this Lee Sin pick, and for all the mid-game pressure he provides, it doesn't matter if your team has no mid-game, and he's not been able to set it up with the early game. We needed to see so much early game aggression, and it just doesn't work into the Olaf.
They do have the wave clear to try and deal with these waves getting pushed in, but the poke from Aurelian Soul from the Lux is just so strong. Standing up with that turret is incredibly tricky.
You got to say, with Swifty and Yumi, whenever they walk up to Yumi rather, whenever they walk up to a tower, it just becomes a firing range for Lux to land these bindings, for Aurelian Soul to land these celestial expansions. And it just gives so much damage, so much pick potential consistently, that as long as you keep setting up these sieges, eventually you'll find a pick.
Oh, the Olaf, the Undertow not quite managing to connect onto the Caitlyn. Don't know if he wants to keep going, but that's already half of the remaining HP for Caitlyn.
Sending her straight back to base. The tower, yeah, his zones are off enough to secure that tower regardless. So she wasn't able to clear the wave, and just one man, just the jungler, is able to secure it.
Well, the inner barrel getting taken away for the gangplank. The Celestial expansion just sailing a little bit wide, but keeping them in the right zone nonetheless. They back off, not quite claiming the turret just yet, but it feels like only a matter of time.
So it feels like they're tunneling very too hard onto bot lane, you could say, because there's a skirmish happening here in bot. Really aggressive. They're
trying to disengage, but Lee Sin has other ideas. He's going to go straight on in, and Nami isn't going to land the bubble. So it's going to mean he can't safeguard away, but there is the ultimate from Lux. Gangplank able to just about get away. Tidal Wave not got enough damage to finish him off. Caitlyn in trouble, but they get away as well. The heal is burnt as Lee Sin goes down, but finally Lux lands the binding. That's what you want to see. 6-0 and 8, and they are laying down the law.
I was about to say, they seem to be tunneling a bit too hard on bot lane. They're trying to draw as many members here as possible, but they're not really following up on it around the map well enough. It's not really rotational play. They're just going, okay, each, you do whatever you want on your side of the map. The four of us will try and take bot lane.
I mean, you say that, but he's taken 2 turrets whilst they've been in bot lane.
I think they've got enough of an advantage that any call is the correct call right now.
Okay, that's understandable.
It's the issue being that under most circumstances, you wouldn't be landing that much. You wouldn't be landing that much damage onto the towers. It would be wave cleared quickly. You'd need to be trying to rotate around the lanes to get chip damage at a time. But because they're so far ahead, they can just brute force it. They can just take these towers so easily.
Now Olaf has that righteous glory, which means he's going to be nigh on unstoppable. As soon as he chooses to go on someone, that's kind of a death sentence. And if you can't damage him enough to get through that health bar, he's just going to take out Caitlyn. He's going to take out Morgana with little to no resistance.
With that giant spell, you can assume, like, I would assume whatever's next 2 items will be either that Dead Man's Plate or the Randuin's Omen. So he's going to be that much more sticky, that much faster, and able to lock down people that much easier once he runs onto the backline. So full movement speed boost, run at your backline Olaf here.
It's what you love to see, especially when it's backed up by a 6-0-8 Lux and a 5-1-7 Aurelian Soul. Not to mention the 0-1 and 10 Nami, a very solid support play so far.
like we said, it's just the front-to-back team composition that we see here from Daddy UK, whether they've got the Darius, they've got the Lux, and they can just land the bindings on the front line. They can just lock up the front line for long enough to burst them down. But in the meantime, Peach's job is to run at Rai and make sure that he has zero impact on the fight for as long as possible.
Caitlyn too far forwards. The flash from Aurelion Sol gets blocked up. The bindings there. The grand entrance is not enough to save her life. Will go down. The undertow is popped, as is the Ragnarok. Actually being taken quite low, but he's straight onto the back line already. He's figured it out. There's the Galio going down. Tidal Wave is burnt. Lee Sin not long for this world. Olaf claims another flashes over Galio, as he is going to just get a double kill. And he is having so much impact in these team fights.
Every member has shown up this game. There's been clutch plays from every single person on this squad. You've seen great Nami waves. You've seen some really nice bindings from Yumi. But the only issue was Ruben's laning phase, and other than that, it's been a near flawless performance.
You can see he's just zoning away the entirety of the enemy team there for Invulnerable's Blue, whilst the rest of his team just hammers on the door of that turret. There's another light binding hit. It just does so much damage at this stage. Caitlyn finally able to finish her first item, but they've already cracked the base. It's going to be Darius getting jumped on. They might be able to find something, but the heal is just too strong. Aurelion Sol coming on in means that they are going to go for the 2v4 team fight with the ult from the gang. Dropping straight on top of them. The dunk comes through, but it's shut down. Then was that a redemption kill? I think it was
the redemption.
Nami able to pick it up as Lux is going to take the second. Caitlyn in a whole heap of trouble right now as Galio is last to stand. Isn't going to last long either as he goes down under his own Nexus turrets.
And that's probably going to be the game here. They've got around 20 seconds on most of the death timers. They've got the inhibitor. They can back off for Baron. It's just, the map is entirely theirs. There's so little way for any way back into the game here.
I don't think they're going to be able to find too much going forwards. It's going to be very, very tricky.
Yeah, I can imagine it's just a reset into the Baron buff. Maybe even looking towards that top lane tower, because they've still got fairly decent health bars, but it would be a bit greedy. I can imagine that it seems they're just going to back off, try and get the reset, set up for Dragon and Baron, and just keep these super minions with the pressure up so they can pin Invulnerables in their base, deny them all these resources, make sure Caitlyn doesn't get to free scale. Only on one item right now.
Yeah, it's really, really tricky. It seems like it's no coming back, and I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion for the rest of this game. You can see Lee Sin trying to scope out the Baron, trying to go for a last-ditch attempt at making some sort of play. But it's really do or die right now. You know, they make one misstep, and that's it. That's curtains for them. They need a miracle.
You got to say, these miracles, they can come from a Baron steal by Mike Young, a decent team fight where they get to pick off a couple members and get out, but it really needs to be one of these sort of plays where you get a Baron buff, you back off, and you're able to turtle in your base for another 5 minutes because of that. Buying yourself 5 minutes at this point in the game is so crucial, because that's a difference between a Caitlyn with a Stormrazor and a Caitlyn with Stormrazor plus a rapid fire cannon plus parts of Infinity Edge.
Very, very dangerous to step into. So the next 3 or 4 minutes, very crucial for Daddy Are You Okay to consolidate their victory. Although they do have a really good start. There's a huge binding onto the Caitlyn. Absolutely deleted. Lux just decimating their entire health bar.
And there's very little you can do about that. They can't afford to invest in a QSS or anything of the like right now. There's not enough gold generation in the squad. They've been denied so much across the map.
Oh dear, Aurelion Sol getting bound up, but it doesn't seem to matter. The Comets are going to deal what they are meant to do, all the damage necessary. Galio trying to take the fight, but Darius all up in his grill. Gangplank isn't going to be able to do anything. Final spark from Lux, not even going to matter. The Noxian Guillotine finds the mark. It will be sent home, and back to base Galio goes.
And so now this is most likely the game right here. Still 2 members alive, but all the health bars so high from Daddy You Okay. This is going to be it.
The tidal wave just sending them back to base. It's the ult from Darius, claiming the life of the Caitlyn. It was actually the final blow from the Nami, but Darius stamps his mark on the enemy fountain, takes down Gangplank, trades his own life for it. But that's the Nexus laid bare. It is going to be Daddy Are You Okay stepping up to finish game number 1 of this week. They are doing so in style. Of course, being a best of 1, they take home this series as well. So congratulations to Daddy Are You Okay.
And the game ends pre-25 minutes. Just we talked about it around the 10-minute mark. We were sitting here saying it's still fairly even. We still need to see some big plays. is it just at the point where it's going to be comfortable for scaling? And then right then, just at around the 13-minute mark, the game got blown wide open. We saw Rubens, Swifty, and Sir Peach just all start getting these kills, all start making these plays happen. And the bot lane just blew wide open as well. We saw the Lux do so much damage, so many of these picks over and over again.
So that is going to be game number 1 out of the way. Next up, as you can see on screens right now, we're going to have UAE Monkey Cage versus Warwick next up. So it should be a little bit of a juicy matchup nonetheless, but we are going to go to a quick break whilst we get the lobby sorted, whilst we get it all turned around. It shouldn't be too long. I think the players are raring to go, as are we. So make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back. I don't think. Do you know what? I think we've been muted this whole time. Hello.
Ah,
Welcome to the stream, everyone. My name is John, and this is Asa, which means that they didn't hear my terrible joke. That's a win, I think. We've been breaking this all down, so just imagine that
yeah.
we've been saying something very insightful.
Okay, yeah.
That's my fault there.
Quick roundup. The Katarina, very strong pick for Erisu. They're not going to allow that through. He showed a very high mastery on it last week. They first picked Graves for Lolman. He's been the star player for UAE Monkey Cage consistently. Has played in a couple of national leagues around Europe. And on the other side, Vladimir, we assume that's going to be going to Shazmaster, as he is the usual top laner. Playing in that EDC position, they want to give him something comfortable, but it's still a flex pick.
The Kindred being picked up as well, which is something you mentioned earlier, being coming back in as a viable jungle.
Yeah, it's very strong right now, but the thing that it's actually being picked up most for, and it's ironic to see it here. It's actually normally a counter pick to the Mundo. It's one of the few counter picks you can get in the jungle to a Mundo, where you can get that slow on him, you can chase him down much easier, and you get the burn from the long-range auto attacks. It definitely adds up. But they've been able to pick up the Mundo for themselves into the Rumble here. Karma Envy showed up big on this pick last week as well. It's another great Karma Envy pick. Having the Darius already banned away falls back to his second most common pick.
That team, the Warwick team at the moment, looks like they just don't want to die. Every single one of them very good at getting away from, those low health situations. You got Vladimir's
so what
pool.
We expecting Zillion mids?
Yeah, I think so. Kale, maybe.
Yep.
As
yeah,
a support.
Zillion Kale, exactly.
Zillion Kale.
Tarek, maybe.
Could do, absolutely. All of these viable options, but we'll see which viable option they're going to be going for, as Cassiopeia and Jin both taken away.
It's weird when I see Misfortune and Rumble, I think, okay, the jungler's going to pick Jarvan every single time. That's the hot pocket right there that you need. You need to land that Rumble ultimate across the Cataclysm. But they've not gone for it. But they've got all this AoE, but they need some more lockdown. We need to see something that can lock down multiple members in an AoE. Otherwise, you're going to throw down this Rumble ultimate, you're going to throw down the Misfortune ultimate, and everybody can just flash out, dash out. You need something to hold them in place and secure that damage.
I mean, you still have that mid lane pick potential. You can go for something like an Orianna, but then you need to pair it with something that can really go in. So maybe a Braum as the support position, but it's still all very, very, very tricky to make it come together. It really needs to be thought about.
And interesting that you mentioned Orianna, another pick that's come back into priority recently. With this team fighting meta that's come about, the Shockwave being that much more of a contested tool for team fights. And I like this Brand pick. It's another pick that's a flex. It could technically go to Chazmaster. It could technically go to Erisu. We don't know yet. But it's such a strong pick, again, at AoE team fighting. So this is going to be really explosive as a composition.
Both of these teams, they are, as you say, geared up for the AoE team fight. That is what you wanted to see. That's what you're talking about. The hard up, close to engage in the form of one angry cow.
And we've got the ball delivery system with the cow if they want to go for the Orianna. So it seems the perfect opportunity to go for it. But
although the Swain, still viable.
That's another AoE team fighting tool that can contest the Vladimir quite effectively in those later stages. So I would definitely, I definitely suspect that could be a strong pick here. It's a lot more common than the Orianna. And the fact that it was left up so long is surprising.
Yeah, it wasn't prioritized really at all during this draft phase. I would like to apologize. I think there's some roadworks going on in my vicinity, so you might hear a couple of bits of buzzing every now and again from my end. But I'll try my best to ignore them, and I hope we can get through it. But the Swain getting locked in, who are they going to be looking to pick up to counter?
So you need to just get as many Grievous Wounds sources as possible, and what you generally want is somebody like an ADC with that Grievous Wounds to apply it. You can have Brand, obviously with the Morellonomicon, applying that Grievous Wounds consistently over a longer period of time, denying the healing. So it needs to be down to items now as to counter the Swain, not so much the picks themselves. But this is an interesting choice here to go for the Vladimir into the Swain mid. Both of the healing tanks, the drain tanks going up against each other. In the meantime, the bot lane, this is so oppressive. Brand Bard. If they get an early game advantage, this will snowball massively. Brand, which with one W can zone Misfortune out from the minion wave entirely. But if this goes the other way, we know how strong Alistair's level 2 is. We know how strong the all-in can be. And with the early game that can come out from a Graves, they should have him to back them up.
Cheeky little bot lane 1-2 going on, but that's really where these teams differ in a lot of ways. I mean, you look at the top lane matchup, you've got those, to be fair, Rumble Mundo potentially filling a little bit of a different role, but you've got those AP bruisers with a little bit of AD as well on the back for Mundo. You've got those bursty jungle AD carry kind of hero of champions, and then the mid you've got those tanky sustain fighters and in the AoE position. So the bot lane really for me is where I'm going to be looking at the differences between these two teams and where they could come out and be shown on this rift.
So this isn't quite the traditional wombo combo that we've talked about in the past, where you see like the Malphite into Yasuo, where everybody's just getting knocked up and locked up in the entire time. But this is a hardcore AoE teamfight wombo, in the sense that you've got so many different tools that you're going to be layering on top of each other to burn people down in fights. You've got Brand ult, you've got Vladimir ult. On top of this, you've got Rumble, Swain, Misfortune, everybody just trying to damage as many members as once as possible, that this is going to be so difficult for any squishy members to survive. And it feels like everybody's going to die, and it's just going to be left to Mundo versus Swain at the end of the fight.
Could be some quite fast fights as well. I mean, you've got that Kindred ultimate, which should keep people alive for just that little bit longer, but the amount of burst that's coming out, these players will be very, very low, and so I'm expecting quite rapid team fights going on.
So as you mentioned, the Kindred just being able to deny some of those longer range picks. So you see the Misfortune and the Rumble, they both want to ult targets that are further away from them. So that locks both of them outside of the Kindred ultimate. So they can still be killed whilst themselves having all their damage mitigated. So it's definitely one way to try and turn it around if you're the Kindred. But one of the biggest issues they're going to have is if you see either of these compositions get a small advantage, they can continue deathballing and blow the game wide open with it. But at the same time, you make one execution mistake, you've got that 5-man AoE coming back directly at you. You've got a Vladimir and a Brand bursting you down. So this can be so back and forth. Or it could be completely one-sided. It seems like really shallow as analysis here, but it's so hard to predict
So what you're saying,
when everything comes down to execution every single time.
Let me get this straight. So what you're predicting is that one team will win, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So that is the prediction. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. This is League of Legends. One team will win. We'll have to wait to find out who it is. It's going to be UAE taking down UAE Monkey Cage. Of course, the University of East Anglia. Seems a little bit of a typo there for the East Anglians, but they're going to be facing off against Warwick. As you said, it's kind of difficult to call at the moment. But if you had to put your money down on someone, if you had to make a call, who are you going for? Who are you backing?
I think I have to go for UAE Monkey Cage here. I think they've got many more tools in their composition with the Alistair for disengage, and so much more in terms of lockdown potential with those two. Whereas if you look at the other side, it's pretty much just the Bard trying to lock people down. So I feel like it's going to be a lot easier for them. It's going to be a lot easier to set up those big AoE team fights. So it's just going to be really down to execution in every single fight, though. As we said, it's hard to make a prediction when if one player makes a mistake, if Rumble aims his ultimate, if Misfortune mistimes her ultimate, then the entire team fight can swing the opposite way than it should in that given situation. It's all so down to these really tiny micro decisions, much more than any other game really is, when you have these combos.
Combos, it is. Combos on the cards. Just taking a look at a couple of these keystones, which will be up on the screen in relatively short time frame. But you've got the Graves with the fleet footwork, so potentially a little bit more sustain in that jungle than what you might normally have if you'd have gone for something else. But we'll be able to get around quite niftily.
Keep him extra healthy, give him that little bit extra movement speed to chase people down as well on those auto attacks. It's going to give him a little bit more utility. As you can see, that challenger border around Lolman's name there.
That's quite impressive. I didn't know we had a challenger player stepping up to the play here.
He was, I believe, ranked like 110 last season.
Rank 110?
Yeah.
Well, that to me spells out that he's going to try and really, really hard carry this game. If he doesn't, I don't think he deserves it, quite frankly.
Yeah, to be fair, in spring, I was saying exactly the same thing, and then Scudsy bopped him.
Yeah, well, someone had to do it. I guess Scudsy was just in the right place at the right time, but we are going to get on to way.
It was really interesting, because like, when you have these team environments, you take a solo queue jungler like Lolman, Challenger, who puts up consistent numbers in solo queue. You put him against Scudsy, a guy who's Diamond, peaked at Master, but he's got experience in teams. He's been a competitive jungler for a while around the UK scene, and he completely out-macroed him.
Well, let's take a look at the team fights already. It seems to be popping off here in the river. Brand, Pillar of Flame hitting onto 3 members, but the Bard stun doesn't go through, and a brilliant Swain pullback will mean that it's first blood already over the UAE Monkey Cage going over, so I came to party.
Nice lockdown there with the flash pulverize from Reapus. Does mean he has to start with a Q, not too unfortunate, but giving that first blood into the bot lane that we said could go so horribly wrong if Chazmaster and the carry got an advantage.
Oh, could be traded back though. Cleaver sails wide. Karma Envy able to just waddle on away. Actually turns around and goes for the Flame Spitter. the stun from the Swain and the pullback on the Vladimir. Here comes Graves as well from the sidelines. Lawman looking to slide on in, gets that quick draw, but Vladimir able to sustain it back up, and the cleavers dissuade them from going for more.
But now it's Graves actually starting really low on his jungle clear, so he's not got any more of the refillable potions. He's got the fleet footwork to try and keep him healthy, but Send should have that advantage. Send should be able to clear that a little bit faster.
Take a little bit more damage and back it up with some regen, but everyone's back up to nice and healthy HP. Brand looking to go for that corrupting pot first in the bot lane, and Miss Fortune already spent that money on I think she started Longsword 2 pots and then bought a Doran's Blade, or the other way around.
I think she started Doran's Blade 1 pot and bought the Longsword second pot. That's the standard, yeah. You don't really want to go for a longsword in lane, especially against Brand, who is so oppressive. You need that bonus health in the early laning phase.
Well, he's got it, and he's got a little bit more as well. Bard taking a lot of poke damage there early on as the stun lands onto Alistair, but not too much to capitalize on. Everyone just regenning at the moment. Vladimir pressuring in the mid wave. Could be a target for Graves' next gank.
It's a interesting start here from the Vladimir. We can see he's gone for the Dark Seal plus refillable. Normally you see that start from somebody who has mana and wants to build into the corrupting potion as quickly as possible. With him, it's more just the fact that he wants that bonus AP at level 1. He wants the ability to try and scale off of it and get the bonus health from the potions. So it's a interesting start, but on the other side, you see Swain just going straight for the corrupting potion.
Kindred is going to go towards this bot side. Alistair stunned up. They're going to try and get the target. Ignite gets dropped down, ticks away, and that is Kindred. Sends to find it.
And now picking up that first kill for himself on the board, evening up that 1-1. But was that her first mark as well? I will quickly double check. And it was not. She's still struggling to get any marks on the board thus far. But Kindred scales so well with those marks now. It's previously it was down to her passive where she'd get bonus on hit damage every time she got one. Now it gives her 5% bonus attack speed whenever she Qs. It gives her an extra current percentage health damage on her W, an extra missing health proc on her E. It all just adds up to mean that you can snowball so effectively, and you get the bonus attack range every 3 then 4 procs afterwards of that passive.
Mundo taking a really quite a strong beating over in the top side of the map from the Rumble. The Flame Spitter doing so much work to just push him on back. It seems like UAE Monkey Cage are not going down without a fight. Obviously, the kill score now even. Gold very, very close. There's not a hair in it.
Unfortunately, though, for Rumble in that top side, he's in an easy time for now, but the moment you start to see a little bit of magic resistance come through, that's going to turn.
Flash burnt from Graves to get away as Vladimir was roaming up. It was answered by the Swain, but it is going to be fallen off.
It's burning his flash, but Send having the better of these matchups in the early phase. Not what I expect in the matchup, but Graves not really putting that champion to the advantage that you expect. And to quickly go back to the top lane, alluded to it already, but the counter really to Rumble is just getting that health regen. And who's the champion who has the highest health regen in the game? It's Mundo. So he ends up buying the Spectre's Cal, and then he can pretty much just run Karma Envy down the lane consistently, unless we see a couple ganks come through and a big turn happen where he's able to get like Leandries really early. But
I don't see Graves coming top to try and fight this Mundo. I mean, it's just going to be a little bit tricky, and he's nowhere near, but there's a gank going on for the Kindred. Going to be looking to jump on in. He is overheated right now, so can't use any of those abilities to get away. Has to burn the flash, but it might not be enough to save his life. Ticking away, the red buff will secure it. He knew his damage output. He knew what was going on. We'll find another kill for Send, but in the mid lane, Swain taking a lot of damage from this Vladimir. Not quite able to stand up in the duel.
I really like the gank there from Send. It's pretty much a mobile target in the top lane for Rumble. Doesn't really have the escapability of a lot of other picks. So he's targeted so much more effectively than a lot of other picks. We saw in the past, whenever Rumble would be locked in top lane, it's like, okay, Elise Renekton, he's dead. So what they've done with this is they go for the Kindred, they lock him down with the slow, and there's nothing he can really do once you've got that the challenging smite this early.
As well, he just, he had that red buff ticking away, and he just knew his damage so well. Very, very well executed on top of, well, planned out. But They are back to being at loggerheads. The gold is still very even with no clear distinctive advantages. I mean, Kindred really the only standout at the moment with 2-0-0.
But it's the CS advantages that are coming out from UAE that have pretty much kept it even. Look at that bot lane, the 12 CS there, the jungle just about even as well. So it's still enough to keep them on even standing, and especially with that first blood having gone over to Misfortune, that's another 100 to keep it close.
Again, Mundo just taking a lot of damage in these waves. He hasn't gone back to base yet. He hasn't managed to pick up his next item, but you can see he's retreating now. Should be looking to get away, and that's going to allow him, as you say, to pick up that Spectre's Cowl.
Spectre's Cowl plus boots, and he should be able to just pretty much rumble down the lane. And picks up the Spectre's Cowl. I think he's waiting for the... he waits and picks up a couple potions, but the amount of health regeneration you get from this now, it's just going to mean that Rumble's Q is pretty much ineffective because you regen through it.
Love to see if he's going to be able to just stand in those waves. Be quite a sight to behold. It's going to be really on Graves to try and come and counter that out, of course, with that double threat, with the AD, with the AP damage coming out. You can't really itemize towards that in the laning phase, so you have to rely on those positioning, on those wards. So making sure you can get that down, going to be all the more crucial.
And so, taking stock of the game thus far, it's been a lot slower than the last game. Still very aggressive trading back and forth across the map, but it's around this mid game that we know it's going to get explosive. It's around the 2 item spikes coming through, and that's really been the crux of the entire meta. 2 item spikes, and who has the strongest 2 item spikes? That's one of the reasons why Aatrox was so strong prior to the rework, because you give him Gwynsu's plus Titanic. He's stronger than any champion in the game.
Vladimir takes a lot of damage from the Swain with a nice little combo, just displacing him, but he isn't going to let it unnerve him. Instead, he's just going to clear the wave. He's going to go back to base. He knows what he wants to do. And he is actually going to send out and buy his first set of items in the game, and that's quite a buy.
It's looking to go directly into the Spellbinders here from Vladimir, so trying to go for that team fight pressure as soon as possible. You get 120 AP on one item that costs just around 3,000 gold. It's basically the equivalent of buying Death Cap mid, as it used to be back in the day, back in Season 4.
Kindred over the wall, looking to fight onto the Swain, doesn't get pulled
nice
back.
dodge.
And a nice dodge means that they are going to capitalize. The Hemo Plague dropped by Vladimir with the flash forwards as well. I think the Ignite was burned there. A little bit greedy, maybe. I think Swain was going down anyway. He just wanted the credit, and he is going to get it.
I got to credit the play from Kindred thus far, though. It's just been consistently in the right place at the right time, pressuring out the right lanes. And all Graves has been able to do is just try and power farm, get a little bit of CS on the other side. But speaking of Graves farming...
Yeah, he's going to get those chickens a little bit stolen away from him.
And that's another mark for the Kindred, yeah.
Yeah, Kindred's going to take it out. That's a mark, as you say. Very important to get those stacking.
Having 2 marks completed now, just a little bit bonus HP damage, the 10% extra attack speed, but it's really the difference that you can look at a Kindred with 0 marks. Consistently on all levels of the queue, you get 25% attack speed whenever you activate it. When you get towards the late games, like 10, 11 stacks, that's a whole 70 to 80% attack speed that you get whenever you pop Q. And it's on roughly a 3-second cooldown at that point in the game, because you've got your W up so often, and when you do, that Q goes down to a 2-second. It's just consistently, meaning you can buy so much AD, but still have so much attack speed, so her damage potential is huge.
The wolf in sheep's clothing seems to be starting to scale up now, but it's still very even. You know, you look, there's 300 gold in it, and at 10 minutes, you know, you look at the game we just saw between Invulnerables Blue and Daddy Are You Okay, and at 10 minutes, there was a massive advantage. I think they were something like 9-1, and they were, you know, they were setting up to take Rift Herald, but right now, this is still the laning phase. You know, no turrets have been taken. There hasn't been any sort of huge plays other than maybe a couple of kills going this way or that, but other than that, it's been very stale.
We're needing to wait for these first item spikes. We see the junglers have now picked up their jungle items, but we need to see your Rumble get towards his first item, Leandries or Morellonomicon. We need to see some of these picks that have so much of the burst damage get their first item, and then maybe you can start to see a play where they start to group up as 5. But until that point, it does seem very slow, and it is very much based around what the junglers can do. And right now, it's been sent way over the top of LoL.
He might be a little bit behind in CS, but those 2 kills more than make up for it. You can see those 2 daggers being picked up as well. Just increasing that attack speed, maybe prioritizing it early. Whilst he doesn't have those stacks, she doesn't have those stacks. Maybe a little bit more important.
But it's not just down to the fact that she's ganked and got the kills, it's the pressure she's provided her lanes with in doing so. She got Mundo back into contention where Mundo had been struggling at that point, and got him the ability to recall and get his Spectre's Cal, get him into a much better position.
Moving forwards though, Alistair, there goes the bullet time, but it's flashed away from Brand. He's going to remain safe for now. You see Graves just moving on down, has the mark being placed on his head. Maybe to try and dissuade the push, but Alistair just steps up. He's not afraid. He's going to be taking the fight when he wants it. Vladimir pulled back towards the Swain. And there's a lot of regen coming out from Swain. Echoed a little bit by Vladimir, but that's the second time that's gone through. Flash forwards from Graves. Very aggressive. Dodges the Bard stun, but it isn't going to matter because Brand's going to get his. There goes the fire, and it's going to burn down the UAE players. Misfortune just getting away with her life. It's going to be now Alistair running away from that from the Bard as Mundo actually on the chase. Teleported down, I think, to try and catch it up. Misfortune in a real bad way as the cleaver lands. Alistair underneath the turret. The Bard just taking the fight underneath. And that is going to be curtains for Alistair. A very nice turnaround from Warwick.
Really too aggressive from Lolman, and when the ultimate came through from Shazmaster, at exactly the wrong time, I came to party, flashes on top of him. The ult bounces around between the targets. And that's exactly what Brand wants to happen now, sitting 2-0 and 2. Decent advantage for him going to pick up the Morel and Omicron. And that maybe is the play that triggers the side of Warwick to start making these plays happen consistently. They've got some items behind them now. They've got some gold behind them. Can they now use this reactive play to make their own proactive ones?
Well, that was what we were expecting right from the start. You know, these big bursty team fights, and we saw a little glimmer of it just there. And I think, as you say, once they start to group up, once they go for these objectives, it could be even more impressive than that.
You've got to look a little bit prior to that play to see one of the reasons why it went so wrong, though. And it's Reapus, he messes up the headbutt pulverize combo, ends up knocking Chazmaster to safety. If he got the knock up there, that directly into the bullet time would have done so much more damage, maybe even secured the kill onto Chazmaster. But as it stood, the sub support not really stepping up to the plate as well as you'd like.
Kindred looking to go in on this Rumble top lane, but decided too much time has been wasted. I'm just going to go in, get a little bit of poke damage, allow my Mundo to clear out that wave and try and get it back on in. But support combat over on the bottom side now as Misfortune roams in to end the scuffle. Bard just getting that passage away.
He ends up using the magical journey to safety, but it's kept him out of bot lane for a little longer, so it gives Reapus and I Came to Party the space to be able to push that wave in. And you can see they've done well on CS so far. They're up 20 in that bot lane, but it doesn't really matter when you see he's picked up those 2 kills, and it's made the gold about even.
They're going in, flash forward from the Vladimir. Hemoplague is going to seal the deal. Misfortune going down, and I think they're going to try and go onto the Alistair, but miscommunication there as Vladimir takes another tower shot. A lot of sustain now, though, as he's going to be able to send it back into his health bar.
Few too many missed skill shots going to zone them off there, but oh, Nerve!
Yeah, coming in, he gets the drag, but it's not going to be quite enough. Rift Herald summoned in that bottom side. They're going to put the pressure on towards the bottom lane. I don't think there's going to be too much that UAE can do about it here. But there goes the headbutt pulverize. Swain's in as well. He's popped the ultimate. Vladimir really very low, and a flash forward from Swain secures the kill, but he's getting burst down. Brand doesn't manage to get it. There's the stopwatch keeping them alive. Kindred just trying to keep it up, but it's not going to be enough as Graves waits in from the side, and a massive fight there for UAE.
Karma Envy comes in huge, the ultimate locking down multiple members, slowing them down for him to chase him down, and the Kindred ultimate, that was just a silver platter for him to pick up the kills from.
It was that was really, really good. A very nice turnaround. A dive from Warwick goes awry. And that is kind of, you know, the two sides of the same coin. UAE did it. Now it's their turn. So it's back and forth and back and forth. And what this leaves us with is, again, a very even game. 1K advantage at the moment for UAE.
This is what we talked about in the pregame, though. A momentary overstep, a little bit of over-aggression there from the side of Warwick. Instantly, they get punished. They get turned around on by this AoE team fight, and suddenly the game goes back 1K advantage in the opposite direction. So it's so close to being broken wide open at any point.
Vladimir getting jumped on. It gets pulled back, and there's the Alistair. Still has the Hellbutt, still has the pulverized Bard, sending Swain golden, and there's the ult from Graves over the wall, taking down the enemy support. Now the mid lane's under pressure. They are going to flank up. Alistair pressuring forwards for that mid lane turret in their sights.
So you can see now it's who has the tempo advantage and how well can they use it. The ball is currently in the court of UAE, where they're able to continue pushing the waves and utilize these picks to make the plays happen. We saw their Lolman able to burst out the carry the moment he catches him alone. Reaper's able to lock down members as well, so it's just trying to make these proactive plays happen better than the other side can. And currently, you got to say that it's looking, this tempo advantage has swung so heavily in the favor of Monkey Cage. The fact that they got that first tower bot lane already, they are in a much better position to continue being aggressive and force the plays down the throat of Warwick.
Spirit Visage now finished on Mundo, so I'm looking to see what you said about just running down Karma MV in lane. He did actually take the rune. That means, of course, he gets those free boots. So he wasn't able to buy them earlier, but he's got them on now. Some magical treads going forwards, but it's not going to matter too much. Triple dagger being picked up for Send.
So this could legitimately be going into Phantom Dancer. It could be going into Rodent's Hurricane. But there's a lot of... you assume it's the Zeal item when you see Triple Dagger. Either that, or it's going into Berserker Groups, but he's already picked those up. So it's a situation where he's trying to get as much attack speed as possible to hunt people down with the true damage from the challenging smite, make advantage of the mid-game rather than the late game of going for Lady.
But he is going to be picking up those marks as much as he can. Finishes up that red buff. Looks to go topside. Is backed off. Only one turret fallen so far.
He's got 3 marks, and he's looking at Rumble. Rumble would be the 4th mark, and that is the mark that gives you the bonus attack range. You get 75 bonus attack range on your 4th mark instantly. And that effectively turns you from a short range AD carry like Lucian into a more medium range AD carry along the lines of your Jinx, your Varus. But then as she gets more and more stacks, she can get beyond the point of Caitlyn. It's rather insane.
Swain getting locked up, goes golden, stunned up as well, and it's just burst down, not able to turn it around onto the brand. A nice pickup for the Warwick bot laner.
Really nicely done there, and just going to keep the pressure on in the top side jungle as well, and the fact that they have this pressure means that she can go directly onto the scuttle, pick up the blue buff, and keep full control of this top side.
Not only that, but that was the 4th mark that you were talking about. They are going to contest for this blue buff now, as Graves is going to step up, go for the 1v1, but that's a little bit too much damage for Kindred to deal with for now. Turns it around, Rumble roams on in, is going to be kept alive as Mundo wades through to the fight. Blue buff is kept safe, and just there's the ult from Rumble doing so much work. Is going to be sent away. The flash to the other side of the Graves means he's going to be able to secure the kill, and the ult's going to keep him nice and healthy. Graves actually in a little spot of bother as the regen is really very strong. Has to drop the ult to try and dissuade the fight, and it's going to work out well for him. Gets taken down with a little swifty slide. The mid lane goes their way as well.
You can see what happened with the Mundo there. It's just a little bit unfortunate for him. What he wanted was to back off a little bit, heal, but he whiffs his Q. He whiffs it multiple times in that fight, and it costs him dearly. He doesn't get the health cost back, and it gives a Lolman the time to pop that challenging smite on him and then burn him down with the true damage.
That mid lane turret now the focus of the aggression for Monkey Cage. Sending themselves up for that opened up map, which is what you were talking about last game, is that, you know, once that mid turret goes down, there's so much ground and you can move that ward line ever deeper into the enemy jungle. But speaking of wards, they don't have any towards the river, and Vladimir allowed to get straight on in, but Swain feeling pretty safe in his boots right now. He's just going to wander on back and give a little wave to Vladimir.
It's still so close, and you can acknowledge that there's been a great tempo advantage for the side of UAE for the last few minutes. They've been making these plays happen, even when Kindred's going aggressive. She gets caught out in the jungle, a couple kills get given over. But at any point, as we keep saying, it's just one good ultimate from a brand away from being a Grey Warwick win in a team fight. One good pick away from suddenly bursting the game open completely the opposite direction at any point.
You take the Kindred ultimate away, you know, you force that out in an earlier fight.
Yeah.
And whilst that's on cooldown, you take an engage, all bets are off because it puts that's much better in your favor. Of course, it does work both ways. It keeps your enemies alive, but you control the timing on it, which means you can use it highly to your advantage. Over in the top side, Graves getting turned on. The Hemoplague about to pop, which will heal Vladimir up nicely, but not quite enough to continue going for the fight. Kindred zoning out. The Misfortune Brand's there as well. That is so much damage as Vladimir has to flash away in the top side as well. They're roaming up. They're trying to collapse now onto the Graves. You can see Kindred over the wall. There's no escape for this one, as it is going to be the ult for the Rumble. He's going to be able to get away and actually find himself a double kill. Is he going to be able to get out? Is overheating at the moment, but that should be cooling off any second now. Alistair just clearing a ward, just you know, doing that, making sure that gets done whilst his teammate runs for his life across the map. But that was a decent trade there for Karma Envy. He was able to get 2 kills for 2 kills.
I mentioned it minorly in the early game, where in the pick and ban phase, where this is his second most played champion as far as we've seen it, behind the Darius. And what I neglected to say is how damn good he is on this champion. Every single time he plays it, whether it's a good or a bad game, his team starts dominating off of the back of it. But he still loses his members of the team. He still loses the Graves. They still don't get everything they wanted from the play. And because of it, we're able to see his Baron buff go over to the side of Warwick. And now the tempo is fully in their favor. Once again, it's swung back completely opposite direction.
It's back and forth. It is definitely swings and roundabouts right now here on the Rift. 22 minutes into the game, and we still don't have anything between these two teams. With the Baron buff advantage, however, Warwick have the tempo. They have the pressure. You can see that Mundo actually getting jumped on. Will have to pop the ultimate, but is it going to be enough? Grievous Wounds is applied, so they can burn through his health bar. The Bard is just in the way, though, to dissuade any more aggression. That's a lot of ultimates burnt. Trying to catch him. Sorry, just the one. Just the one from the MF. The bullet time gone down.
And the Ignite from the Alistair as well. So still a lot invested into just that. And I like this ultimate from Bard, just buying a few seconds for the team to collapse back on mid lane. But this tower is still going to go down.
Oh, she's just able to get the ultimate off in time, keeping her alive, and the rest of her team as well. Brand lands the stun. We'll be just trying to get those burning procs down onto the Alistair, but half HP is all you got to get, I'm afraid, my friend. Kindred has to be backed off as well. Should be able to regen that up, no problem. As the rest of the team stuck up in the mid lane. Warwick don't have their mid lane turret, and they're looking to take down Monkey Cages.
I think Kindred is going to go for the Storm Razor here as the next item. So that's why you see the Runan's Hurricane, the scaling with the Storm Razor to make it a guaranteed 200% damage crit on your first auto attack on a target. So it is still building towards that late game damage from her, where you're trying to get the massive amount of a late game crit potential, whilst also providing that mid game where you need the attack speed, you need to help chase people down, you get the bonus movement speed from it. So all coming together, it's a really nice build path for Kindred.
Graves just clearing out some vision in the mid river, trying to get that line up. They know their mid turret's under threat, so making sure that vision's there, all the more important. Mark onto Swain, and he might be able to pick it up right here, right now. The drag back doesn't go through, and that's just so much damage, but just churned out by Send, bringing himself 6, 2, and 3.
Let's check quickly how many marks he does actually have, and that's 7 completed hunts now. That's the second mark of the passive completed. So he's got 100 bonus attack range now from his passive.
Bullet time getting dropped in that bot side just to clear the wave and send away, but it's not going to be enough, unfortunately. Turret goes to go down. That second tier turret falling, and they're still trying to protect around this first tier in the mid.
It's a little bit fruitless, though, as the brand is just doing so well at zoning people off constantly, even if it's just on the tank, putting this burning bomb onto them. So they've got a few seconds where they have to just stay away from any target on the Rift other than minions, and it ends up just allowing them to push up and siege up so much more effectively with this Baron buff.
And now they have used a lot of the time that they do have left on that Baron buff. Kindred, you can see again, that contention for vision is all the more important once those mid turrets goes down. Once that outer ring falls, it is really a game of vision. And if Kindred can spot someone out, if you can find that Graves in the jungle, that's game over for them. They cannot stand up to that. But it is still so even here. And with Baron buff going down, it's very, very close. The flash burn from Mundo has the turret to fall back to. And he seems to be able to get away as well. One more harpoon from the Rumble just sees him back.
But this gives them the free reign to take this top lane tower now and put the gold again back to even where they get this outer turret down. They've broken down the outer turrets on the other side, and again, it's just still so even. Just this tier 2 bot lane being the difference in towers after they take this one.
Bard just sending that turret golden, trying to back them off, but they're not dissuaded. The outer turret falls, and the last of the outer ring is going to go down. And again, it's just, there's 200, there's even less of a gold gap now between these two teams. We're at 25 minutes in.
Yeah, we predicted this exactly at the start, though. It would be a back and forth game. It would be so close back and forth, and just how easily it can turn one way or the other. It's so hard to push an advantage. Because the moment you overstep, the moment you push that advantage just a little bit too far, the game gets blown wide open back the other way. You struggle to push through the towers because you can't make a full engage happen against a Rumble and a Swain.
Well, here comes the Inferno Drake. They are going to set it up. Equalizer dropped on top of it. Kindred will be able to secure it. Burned down to half HP, though. Graves is going to take the fight in the front. Still ultimate available for Kindred. Yes, she has to use that flash, but instead drops the ult, keeping everyone alive, jumps out of it, jumps back in. Will take 1-for-1 on the trade, takes Graves out. Vladimir now trying to come into the fight. No junglers for either side. Mundo around the side needs to land a cleaver, doesn't manage to hit it. Flash forwards from the Vladimir, drops the Hemoplague onto 2, into the backline. Swain goes, but Bard is going to be able to get away. Brand takes him down. So the Vladimir capitalizes with the damage. There's the golden, zones them back, forces Alistair into harm's way. There's the stun from the Brand. We should be able to pick up the kill. There he goes, headbutt in, but it's not going to be enough. Comet is going to secure the kill for the Brand, and it will be a very strong fight now for Warwick.
You can see just a little bit overzealous again. They get the kill onto Kindred, but they waste so much in doing so. They burn so many of their flashes, so many of their utility, just to be able to get on top of her. And so when Vladimir is coming in full speed, he's just able to flash Alt E and get the full damage combo down onto 4 members. And that's so crucial in the fight to be able to get them the victory.
Graves, though, stepping up. The pool is burnt by Vladimir. They can chase on after this. The ult available for Graves. He goes forwards. He pops it off. Finds the kill onto Vladimir. Bard just escaping by the skin of the teeth. The Pillar of Flame not quite able to dissuade them. And in goes Misfortune. Has that speed up. Looking to drop down the Bullet Storm. And the flash is burnt. That's a huge crit going down onto Brand. But he's going to get the stun for Bard. Meaning they cannot chase this one further. A lot of damage. And this is the chance that Monkey Cage need. And as you say, they step too far forwards. And this is what happens. The mistake is going to result in a turret.
So the gold remains fairly even, but it is going to come down to who gets to execute perfectly on their teamfight fantasy. Is it going to be the Brand bouncing between with the Vladimir getting that full AoE again?
Speaking of bouncing between, he has managed to get down the ultimate. The slow goes down onto Alistair from the cleaver. Brand's trying to chase it up now. They should be able to get the stun, but there's the equalizer to try and stop the fight. It's not quite in the right spot. Alistair surviving for so long, but will finally go down to the Kindred. And again, they're just running for the hills. They're getting picks versus picks and then taking it back and trading it away. And there's still no clear leader in this game.
But Reapers, having bought time for the team, is able to back off and buy them enough time that they don't all go down. It means that they can at least contest this Baron buff, but it's going down so quickly, it's burning down so fast. And Send, he's on top of it already.
There's very little in the way of anything that you can do to take this one down, but it will fall. And again, it's going to be Warwick to claim it. Are they going to be able to get a little bit more than they did last time? Or is it going to be another tooth and nail back and forth?
I think with this Baron buff now, you don't need to force a fight. You don't need to make things happen. You can just afford to sit back, let the minions do the work. You don't need to put yourself in a place of danger. Now, Kindred has 9 marks as well. Even when they do try and pull off the engage on you, she is just going to have so much damage. She's going to be able to buy the time for the team. And with those crits that she now has, building towards the Black Cleaver as well, it's so hard for anybody to step up to her unless they're going as 5. And if you're going as 5, you have to worry about if you commit too many resources to it again, and then we see Erisu and Chasmos that are able to clean up on the backside.
Oh, Alistair getting caught out. Vladimir's turned it around. Bard sending him golden. Everyone's there, and it's a bad day for this cow. It's going to be turned into burgers in relatively short time fashion, I do imagine. And it's going to be Kindred to get up the kill. But there's the equalizer. Huge wombo combo coming out. Kindred drops the ult to keep his team alive. And Misfortune's taken very low in the meantime. But it's coming up blue now. Monkey Cage started to turn it around. The Mundo's still going in the fight. He's got cleavers. They're going left. They're going right. There's Graves trying to dish out the damage, but the regen is going to run out. Flashback over the wall. And Misfortune's very low. Brand has so much damage. He just needs to press one key. That's going to be curtains for the Lady of the Bullets.
You can put your dancing shoes on all you want, but you can't dodge a point and click, and Brand able to just get him with the E. But that was so close to being the perfect fight there. But that's where you see the power of the Kindred against an AoE wombo combo. Without the Kindred, that was a clean wipe. They were about to get aced there. The Rumble ultimate, the Equalizer, plus the bullet time would have just been it. But because of the Kindred ultimate, they're able to buy the time, make that a 2 for 2 overall in the fight. 3 for 3, in fact, as Reapus, I Came to Party, and Karma Envy all went down.
Well, you spoke about 2 item spikes earlier. We're now starting to hit the 4 item spike section of this game. You can see Kindred having finished up that 4th item. Brand well on his way as well. And it looks like Vladimir, he's going to be stacking up for it. It's all starting to come together in terms of that late game fantasy.
But the later we get, the more Mundo becomes a relevant threat, because what we saw right there in the jungle is rather damning for the side of UAE Monkey Cage. They got the perfect fight. They got the dream fight in a choke point with Rumble ultimate active, with the Alistair able to put down some CC and the bullet time all together. And they were still only able to get a 3 for 3. They need to execute even more perfectly than perfect. They need to make sure that Kindred doesn't have the ultimate already, and then go for exactly the same play. And without Kindred having a role, they don't go there. They don't go that aggressive. They don't make those positioning mistakes. Because Kindred's saying, I don't have ult, back off, be careful. So it's so much more difficult for UAE to find a way back into the game now that Kindred can shut down these plays.
Oh, there's Graves spotting out the Mundo, but the Blast Cone just seeing them to safety. No ward to be negated. Cloud Drake, not necessarily the most favoured to be contested over, but it is a point of contention nonetheless. They are going to start it up for Warwick. They're looking to try and burn it down. You can see they're over the wall, but they're not going to be able to claim it. So that's another dragon going over. The 3rd so far for Warwick. And it seems like there's no clash going on just yet. Graves getting a little bit of poke, but that's it. These turrets not getting under pressure just yet.
Yeah, it's just a bit of rinse and repeat here, as they can continue pushing the waves in, and resetting, because they have enough of an advantage now. We're seeing that it seems like it's only a 3k advantage, but it's a lot more than that when you look a little bit deeper below the surface. You look at the vision pressure they've got. You look at where the waves are, and consistently, it's in the favor of Warwick. They've got the tower advantage, so they're allowed to push the waves deeper. And the fact that they have this outer mid lane turret down, the inner mid lane turret rather, just allows you to push the wave that much deeper in mid lane and back off to set up vision around Baron and around Dragon.
Well, they have been on point with their neutral objectives. 2 Barons this game, 3 Dragons as well, denying everything from the enemy team. Monkey Cage, they are behind now by a little bit, and they're starting to let it slip. They need to find that engage that you were talking about. The Kindred ultimate, if it's there, is going to turn it. But with Kindred in the top side, if they find the main bulk of the team, this could be what they're looking for. But the regroup comes through and the positioning is fixed.
Kindred needs to be the core of this team. You can't have a walk-off by yourself. But Mundo
is going to get jumped on. Pops the ultimate in return, and Alistair now under the cosh. Kindred jumps forwards. Bullet time to try and see them away. The Hemo player gets flashed away from, as there it goes, Swain straight into the back lines and a little bit overextended. It's going to get traded back onto the Brand, so that's a huge magic damage power burst just gone. Mundo not able to find his way into the Kindred ultimate, and this is the fight they were looking for. Only 2 players left standing. Kindred not quite able to pop it out. There's the Bard, last man standing for Warwick now, as this is a disastrous fight. Monkey Cage able to secure so much. What are they going to be able to find off the back of it? The waves aren't quite there. They can only mitigate pressure.
And one mispositioned Kindred ult, one mistake from Send costs them so much as they get wiped. Carry being the only member surviving, and it gives full control back to UAE Monkey Cage. We said that it was so hard for them to perform the wombo combo through Kindred, but Kindred makes the mistake, and they're able to punish so effectively. They can get back on the map. They can set up the vision around Baron now. And UAE, they have the tempo advantage once again, just off of so tiny macro mistakes. The game swings so dramatically.
The issue is that they don't have those wards to put down at the moment. I mean, you can see it is all pretty much red on the minimap. There's very little vision for blue. It's around the Baron side, which is the saving grace of it, but that can be swept out very quickly and efficiently by Warwick as they move towards that side of the map. Baron spawning up in 45 seconds means that it is going to be the next hot point of contention.
But being the first team to break the inhibitor line is crucial here because the super minions do the work for you. You can start that vision dance around Baron. You can be bouncing back and forth with your opponents as you both walk in and can take the pressure. But in the meantime, your minions are pushing much harder than theirs. So if you just buy time, you bait them out, you force them out of the mid lane, then suddenly they're looking at minions bouncing on their Nexus towers, and the moment they back off to go and clear those minions, you get free reign over Baron again.
Well, speaking of Baron, it's going to be up in 10 seconds now. There's the vision getting cleaned out. Using that Scryer's Bloom as well, just to spot any ne'er-do-wells hanging around the Baron neck of the woods. They're cleaning out that mid wave. They do have so much wave clear with this Vlad, with the Brand as well, that even though those super minions are there, they're close enough and they have enough damage to just kind of deal with it in a lot of ways.
It's just a case of pushing up the waves and resetting over and over again, but the fact that the super minions are down, even though they have all this wave clear from the Vladimir plus the Brand, it's still put it in an even standpoint where we can see they're constantly being pushed back. And the vision control has been given over to the side of Monkey Cage.
They are going to move up towards the Baron now. Whether or not it's a bait, or if they are actually going to start it out, remains to be seen. You can see there's the blue trinket just being popped down on the pit.
We need a stealth cow.
We need a stealth cow from the sides. Where are you?
If he gets a multi-man knock-up in this fight, that is the game, because he needs to buy time to have Rumble and Graves put down the damage, have Misfortune able to set up the perfect ultimate, and then they get Baron off the back of it.
Oh, Mundo gets caught out, has to pop the ultimate, gets dragged back by Swain. That's disastrous, has to burn the flash to get away, but he might want to re-engage onto this. Of course, he does have that Spirit Visage with the ultimate still active. He can just regen all his health, but that means that they can prompt themselves to start up
but Kindred's
the Baron.
trying to force mid,
this
so
is so low. There's the redemption. Kindred's forcing mid this whole time, so no smite there. There's the equalizer. They're turning around for the fight. Mid turret has gone down in the meantime, but it's raging, and that is so much damage mitigated by a lovely Bard ultimate. Traded 1-for-1 so far.
There's no
Swain for
Kindred.
Mundo. There's no Kindred there. The inhib is being taken down. They can't stand around, and that is huge for Warwick. They've managed to open up the lane and equalize it. They're stopping the recalls. He's going onto the Nexus turrets. The teleport's coming through. There's a trade coming in from behind, but Vladimir goes down in the meantime. Here comes Misfortune and Alistair, but the turrets are going so low. Kindred drops the ultimate. They're trying to open the Nexus up as well. In Brand comes, and they're trying to turn the fight, but finally Kindred goes down. Brand to follow. The Nexus laid bare now for Monkey Cage.
But they lose so much in doing so, and they've given the control of the Baron over to the side of Monkey Cage. If Monkey Cage can push out these super minions, they get to go directly onto Baron, take that, and then it's harder for you to perform a backdoor like that again.
Of course, with that Nexus open, though, Kindred can be a little bit sneaky beaky, has the damage. She can do everything that's needed. But, as you say, that Baron is going to be picked up. No contest coming through. Even though there's a ward there, there's just no one alive to deal with it. Elder Dragon has spawned up, so that could be their next port of call. You can see Alistair down towards that side of map, just clearing out some vision.
The call was just far too aggressive on ending the game there. It was a nice idea. Force them to go hard onto Baron or lose their mid lane tower. And they forced them to go hard onto Baron. They lost a lot of the mid lane pressure. The moment that inhib goes down, you back off. You get the hell out of there because they are coming for you on the collapse. When Kindred and Brand go down, that is the turn where suddenly it stops being a good play, and they've lost so much of their map pressure.
But now, even though Alistair was down that side of the map, he could have cleared out that vision ward, but instead, he leaves it up, and that's going to allow a little bit of posturing around the Elder Drake for Warwick. They might actually just want to go straight for it, because it is going to be started up. Kindred has so much damage that they can just finish this one out. Swain looking to go
Graves
on the edge of the fight.
This is free.
Graves is base, but there's the bullet time. Smite is going to secure it, and they're getting away for absolutely, yeah, as you say, there's no contest there.
So they've got 3 Dragon, Elder Dragon right now. This means this does 180 true damage on spell effect or on auto attack damage. And that burn is so effective when you just land a little bit of poke. You land maybe 1 auto attack from a Kindred. Suddenly somebody's being burned for half their HP bar as true damage. And it's just so effective when you have a Brand as well who's already putting down this burn. You have the slows. You have everything chaining together. Because a fight that would otherwise be close, suddenly you have 300 extra damage.
They look to go forwards, and you can see just how much damage that's going to be. Traded credit relatively equally, but into the front lines. Mundo has the regen. They're looking to try and pressure it away. Both tanks zoning away there in respective backlines. Vladimir has to pull backwards. First skill going down onto the Alistair. Zonya's popped for Vladimir, but he's taken down really very low. The damage comes through, and Kindred is going to roll it out. There goes Misfortune. Tries to get away. Brand not quite able to get the snipe. Bullet time finds one, and it's taken down. That is going to be the kill. That's going to be the game. Warwick, after a marathon of team fighting, and 26-28 on the kill score, they are going to be taking down the Nexus. They're going to be taking home this best of one, and my, what a way to end the game.
After one of the most explosive games of League of Legends I have ever seen, it comes down to that Elder Dragon, and understandably so, when you have this AoE team fight, just those little instances of damage you continue to get the advantages in, and it made the fight not even close. You look at the health bars across the board. It wasn't a poorly executed fight by the side of UAE. They did what they usually do in fights. They weren't able to get in the place to land the bullet time, though, because all this damage was being thrown down onto I Came to Party because of this Elder Dragon.
Yeah, you had the trading positions from both of the tanks. Mundo right in their faces, Swain trying to zone out the back, but Brand just a little bit more able to deal with that frontline Swain than the Misfortune was, and the Graves was as well. So, unfortunately, it is going to be UAE Monkey Cage taking the L here as Warwick come out on top. They've obviously been practicing. They have a couple of strats on their sleeves, so I'll be interested to see what they're going to be able to pull out in the coming weeks, but it's going to be all we have time for this evening. I have been John Allen, and with me has been the lovely Acer, breaking everything down and telling me what I don't know and being far more knowledgeable about the game. So thank you very much for that. Cheers, you guys, for tuning in. Make sure you do keep up to date with all our social media. You can find it. I'm sure it's somewhere on the Twitch page. Go have a look. Scroll down. I'm not your nanny. You can do it yourself.
We'll see you next week. I assume it will be Orcs and Counterfeit on that broadcast.
I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, make sure you do keep tuned to all our social media, and you will get all that information. So we will be seeing you. Thanks for tuning in.